Memory is not a static, unchanging recording of past events. Rather, it is a dynamic, evolving process that is deeply entwined with our ongoing sense of self. Our memories are not merely retrieved like files from a database. They are reconstructed each time we access them, shaped by the person we are in the present moment. The act of remembering is inherently subjective, filtered to the lens of our current identity. But this identity itself is far from fixed. It shifts as we grow older, experience new things, learn new information, and adapt to changing circumstances. The question then arises, when we recall an event, are we truly remembering the event itself, or are we simply remembering our memory of that event, a memory that has been reshaped by our present self? As we change, our memories become less like accurate, objective representations of the past, and more like reflections of our current state of being. Imagine recalling an event from childhood, perhaps a difficult interaction with a friend. When you were a child, that event may have been a source of deep pain or confusion. However, as an adult, with years of emotional growth and perspective, that same event might seem trivial or even humorous. The emotional weight it once carried may dissipate, and you may even see the situation from your former friend's perspective, which you couldn't at the time. The event itself, what happened in that moment, is fixed in the past, but how you interpret it has changed dramatically. This process is not just a neutral act of remembering, but a reinterpretation shaped by the person you are today. In essence, the paradox lies in the fact that memory is not as reliable as we often believe. The idea that our memories serve as faithful accounts of past events is a comforting illusion. In truth, memory is a reconstruction, a narrative we build each time we access it, influenced by our present thoughts, emotions, and understanding. The past is always refracted through the lens of the current self. So, when we look back on our past, we are not necessarily accessing an objective, unchanged version of events, but a version of those events that has been altered by who we are now. This means that the events we recall are not always the same as the events that originally took place. We may remember the memory, but not the reality. This paradox leads to profound implications about the nature of both identity and memory. If our memories are inherently unreliable, and if our sense of self is constantly shifting, then it follows that our identity is not a fixed, permanent core. Instead, it is fluid, changing over time as we experience new things and evolve emotionally, intellectually, and physically. Our memories, then, are not the objective, unaltered recordings of the past that we might wish them to be. They are, instead, more like impressionistic paintings, vivid, emotionally rich, and meaningful, but subject to the influence of the changing conditions under which they are viewed. This fluidity of both memory and identity leads to a situation where the past is never truly fixed or fully accessible. We may think we know ourselves based on our memories, but our recollections are always partial and shaped by the current version of who we are. As we evolve, we continue to reframe our memories, sometimes even rewriting them unconsciously or consciously to fit our present understanding of the world and ourselves. This leads to a paradox where we are constantly revising our own past, and the very act of remembering becomes an act of self-creation. As a result, our sense of self becomes tenuous and unreliable. If we cannot trust our memories to accurately represent the past, then how can we trust our perception of who we are? Our identity, once thought to be a stable foundation, becomes elusive and unstable. Each time we recall a memory, it is colored by the person we are now, and this shifting identity makes it difficult to define a singular, stable self. The past, which we often view as a source of grounding and continuity, becomes a landscape of uncertainty. We may become both the actor and the audience of our own life story, but the script keeps changing and the plot becomes more difficult to follow. This creates a sense of disorientation, where the one solid anchor of our identity slips through our fingers. As our memories evolve, we are left questioning not only what happened in the past, but who we were in that past and who we are now. The very act of remembering becomes an act of transformation, constantly shifting our perception of self and history. The fluidity of memory and identity means that we can never fully grasp the past or the self we once were. We remain in a perpetual state of becoming, constantly in flux, and this forces us to confront the reality that our sense of self is never truly stable, never truly complete.